To you from Guanacaste, Costa Rica, the Rythmia Life Advancement Center on a perfect Tuesday. Even though it's rainy season, it is beautiful. And I just want to say how lucky, I am personally to get to live here and to get to be in this environment of tremendous healing every single day. It's a great, great, great thing. Yeah, and I appreciate all of you. And I want to tell you a little bit about Rythmia. Rythmia is a life advancement center like no other, right? Over 12,000 clients through the door. 97.71, that's 977 out of every 1,000 report a life-changing miracle during their stay. Amazing. Better stat, at 6 months, 92.71% of them say that this was the week that changed their life. Yeah. We're a TripAdvisor top 10 resort with almost 2,000 reviews, over 12,000 guests. And last week we made a huge announcement. That's the first one of 3 big ones that's coming about Untitled Juanito coming here 25 weeks out of the year. That's amazing. In 2023, it's going to be crazy busy. Don't miss Untitled Juanito. Book, and book. Okay. This is Let's Go 3. And in Let's Go, what we're trying to do is we're trying to use data to give us a platform to move forward, to becoming a beneficial presence on the planet. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to use data to guide us because the data is all out there. This has all been figured out. There's not much new stuff happening as far as personal development, personal success. But I'm taking a look at this. So one of the first things that I want to say is last week and the week before I cited a study that I want to cite again because it's super, super, super important. 1979 Harvard study, 1,000 people surveyed. 83% had no specific goals. 14% had goals, but they didn't write them down. And 3% had very specific written goals, right? 10 years later, same 1,000 people, right? The 14% with specific goals earned on average 300% more than the 83%. 300% more. You don't need anything else. Now, here's the kicker. The 3% that had specific written goals were earning 1,000% more than the 83%. You don't need anything else. That is it. That's so important. So I just wanted to start with that and say that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of studies on successful people. And I started looking at them. And I said, you know what? What about the unsuccessful people? Are there studies on them? And I started turning over some rocks and I found about 9 studies. And I looked at them. And I kind of broke them apart. And I came up with the top 6 traits of the unsuccessful. So why are you telling us this, Gerry? Because if you see them in yourself, you can manage them and create a platform for you to become a beneficial presence, right? So what's the number one thing? And I have these in order. The studies on the unsuccessful. Number one, negativity. Number one thing they all have in common, negativity. It's not going to work. This will never work. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to be able to do good. I'm not a good person. I'm not this. I'm not that. Negativity. The number one thing that all the unsuccessful people have in common. The second thing, blame. And then I'm going to go back into these and see if we can set up parameters for us to see this and not do it. Because I'm going to say this, all of us have a little of these, even the most successful, even Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos have them. It's to the extent that we have them that dictates where we're going. So the second one, blame. It's not my fault. It's her fault. It's not my fault. it's this person's fault. It's not my fault that they didn't win or that we didn't win. It was this guy who missed the shot. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Blame, blame, blame. So negativity, blame, gossip. They all like to talk. So you'll see doers tend to do and talk very little. And talkers tend to talk and do very little. And talkers tend to gossip about things that are negative. Strange cycle, right? Very interesting. The next one, fear of failure. Fear of failure. They all have this in common. You take guys like Richard Branson, like Jeff Bezos, like Elon Musk, and all these guys. They're not afraid of failing. They get out there and do it. They do it. And I'm going to get back into that in a minute. The fifth one, the inability to delay gratification. That is the quickest sign. And I can tell you, I get to intimately know between 70 and 100 people a week, new people. And I can tell you the most successful are very, very into delayed gratification, and the least successful are not. You can tell when you sit down with someone what their motivation is. If you cannot delay your gratification, you're going to constantly be upset and feel as if you're failing. Now, I want to go back into some of these and readjust them. Oh, and the last one, lack of written goals. Simple. The lack of written goals, which goes back to the study that we talked about first. But today, what I really want to talk to you about is failure, because there is no success without failure. Failure is a stop in the path. It's a place in the path. Now, and I want to talk about it. One of the studies from Northwest University, the Kellogg School of Management, showed writers who did not get grants. And they studied the writers who did not get grants. They were 6.1% more likely to have a hit article. And they defined a hit article with numbers of views. 6.1% more likely than the people who got the grant. The failures. Do you see? That's the first real hard data. I'm going to tell you, in the United States, and I believe in Canada, we as children are yelled at for failure, right? We're yelled at for failure. And this carries with us our whole life, right? A lot of this goes back to the Industrial Revolution and creating good employees, good soldiers, good this, good that you had to conform and you could not make mistakes. But this is not that time. This stuff started changing in the 80s, right? And now you see, if I had a child now, I would say try everything, fail at everything, be bad at everything, but try it all. For business people, yep, start a business, fail, start another one. Fail that business, start another one. Fail that, start another one. Fail that, start another one. And on and on and on. Failure is the greatest determination of success. So don't think, and this is the thing that we think we have to be perfect. And I want to tell you what, these business models that make all this money now, that make a fortune now, they didn't start out that way. Very rarely, if ever, does somebody take a business plan and that's the way the business works out. It doesn't work that way. It's the ability to fail and adjust and 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 fail and adjust. And I'm going to tell you, if you're not failing enough, you're never going to win. You're never going to win. Failure is the pathway to success. So I say, hey, fail early and often. Fail as much as you can and don't worry about it. Now, when I say don't worry about it, I'm not asking you to try to fail. I'm asking you to try and then failure happens. It does. If you take a look at business statistics, failures happen about 500% more than successes. So for every business that makes it, 5 don't. So failure is baked into the success, right? Marriages, about half of them make it. Relationships, less than 20%. Premarital, premarital, less than 20%. Businesses, communities, new thoughts, new structures, most of them fail. So if you're afraid of failure, you can never, ever, ever get there. And I want to tell you something. If you are involved in a sport, failure is an absolute prerequisite to getting good. So if you take a kid, 13 years old, he's never saw a basketball before, and you give him a basketball, he's going to miss every time he shoots. Until he gets good at it. But if he stopped at failure, he'd never get good at it. If Michael Jordan stopped when he got denied, didn't make the basketball team, we wouldn't have him, right? We wouldn't have him. So all of this stuff, and we're so community minded that our failures, we think, we're so interested in what other people think of us, that our failures become so blown out of proportion. No wonder more people don't take chances, right? So I'm going to say, here's one that you can absolutely control. So let's see what we can control. We can control negative thinking. We can control blame. By every time we go to blame someone, we take it back to ourselves and be accountable for us, right? Gossip is easy to stop. It's super easy. All these 6 things, 5 of them are easy. 4 of them are easy. So what's easy? Negativity, blame, gossip, and lack of written goals. That's simple. We can fix all 4 of those, but the 2 that are a little bit harder are the fear of failure and the delay of gratification. Those are the 2 that are harder. And those are the 2 that require some consciousness. And by consciousness, I mean this. If you were drinking medicine here with me this week, after post-merger, and you had a fear of failure, I would ask the medicine to cure that fear of failure. I would go into meditation and ask her to cure that fear of failure. I would ask in prayer, positive prayer, to get rid of that fear of failure. Now, with delay of gratification, this is something that goes back to the very beginning with us. So a lot of times, if we were in a family with multiple children and food was an issue, we'd never want to delay gratification because you had to get the food first and eat it, or get the candy first and eat it, or get the toy first and eat it. And it comes this inability to delay gratification comes from a lack of resources. So that lack of resource is now a mindset, and that mindset is not enoughness, right? So when there's enough, I don't have to run to grab that piece of cake. When there's enough, I can let others go ahead of me, and delay my gratification so I get more later. So this inability to delay gratification will ruin just about everything that we do. It would ruin relationships. It would ruin our family. It would ruin, if we're in a community setting, it would ruin how we are viewed by the community. And when I say viewed by the community, I don't mean viewed so that my ego feels good. I mean, if I'm trying to help out, and if I'm viewed as someone who's going to take his piece first, I'm not going to have the opportunity to help out because they're not going to let me. So that's what I mean by viewed by the community. When you can delay gratification, when you have this mentality of enoughness, when it's coming out of enoughness and not out of scarcity, then putting things off to the future is an easier thing. And that all of these things are habits that can be learned. The 2 hardest are the fear of failure and the inability to delay gratification. So I just want to continue to talk about them. Once the fear of failure thing, and the fear of failure thing usually stems from how people perceive us, right? If we could fail and nobody knew about it, we'd take more chances, right? So it's really not even the fear of failure. It's the fear of being perceived as a failure. So like if I started a business, and I remember my first business failed miserably, and I was super embarrassed and all that, right? So I understand it, but I wasn't upset that I failed. I was upset that people thought I was a failure, right? So these two things can go away through meditation, through positive prayer, through drinking ayahuasca, and praying around them, because if you can flip these 6 things, you will no longer fail. If you flip these 6 things, so this is opposite thinking from what I'm normally talking about, which is studies on success. This study on failure, if you flip these things, you can change everything. You can change the whole thing. So what I suggest doing is write these 6 things down: negativity, blame, gossip, fear of failure, inability to delay gratification, lack of goals, and be honest about how often you partake in them. So I'm guilty of some of these things, from time to time. Like I'll get mad at an employee and I'll say, that employee did this, and then later I will come back to it and say, I hired that employee. That's ultimately my thing. I trained that employee. That's ultimately my thing. And I'll go back and rework it with that employee. So it's not always saying I will never do that again. It's saying I'm going to manage my behavior a little bit because I want to become a beneficial presence in this thing. The things so if you write down here all of the things, and then you give a point value to how often you're doing it. I'm very rarely negative. I very rarely blame someone. I try my hardest not to gossip. I try my hardest not to gossip. My hardest. I do have fear of failure. Even though I'm 50, turning 59 years old, I still have it. I don't have it like I had it when I was 20. But it's not debilitating. I make new mistakes every day. My inability to delay gratification is great, but it's great because I worked on it for a long time. And then I saw studies about being able to delay gratification was a direct corollary to your own success. And once I understood that, it became much easier for me to delay gratification. And lack of written goals. I write my goals down all the time, pray around them, and that really creates a great springboard for becoming this beneficial presence. So that's my chat for today. I hope you got something out of it. I really do. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you at Rythmia, and just thank you for supporting us so well. And a lot of people are the thing lately is people are saying, oh, you're making so much money at Rythmia, I want to talk to that a second. I want to speak to that. And I very rarely, if ever, comment on what people say, because I generally don't care, right? But this one I have an interest in, because I want to show you how it worked. When I started this, my intention wasn't to make money. My intention was, I hope it broke even and made a little money. That was my intention behind the whole thing. And then I worked at making Rythmia a beneficial presence on the planet. And I got successful at it. And as we got successful at that, then the energy of money started to flow. The former didn't happen before the latter, right? So by getting good, then the energy of that comes back in showers on you. That's all I'm going to say. And I just wanted to make that comment. Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful week. God bless you. God keep you. God hold you. And we will see you next week.